Welcome back to The Square. I am your host, Curtis the Fifth.
And I'm Curtis the Fourth.
And we are doing this over Zoom, something new for you guys. We both have COVID. Sick. It's New Year's Saturday, January 1st, 2022. And yeah, we both started off sick, but we're still here bringing you guys great NFL content for week 17. So we will still recap week 16. We haven't forgotten about that. There's a lot of stuff to discuss there. We'll go ahead and look at some news. There's some pretty interesting headlines this week. Some pretty sad ones too. So we'll get to those in a few. Power rankings as always, game picks as always. We'll get to it all. Let's start with the week that was kicked off last Thursday. Titans get a win at home versus the San Francisco 49ers, 20-17. Wow, San Francisco, you really just kind of dropped the ball there. You had a chance at wrapping up and really solidifying yourself in the NFC playoff, and now it's just kind of waning in the balance right now.
Yeah, bit of a disappointment, I should say.
Yeah.
To say the least. I mean, yeah, if I didn't have it correctly, you've had Tennessee in this one, didn't you?
No, I picked San Francisco. We both started off this week wrong. I mean, I can go back and check one more time.
No. You're right.
San Francisco.
You're right. That was the thing. That Tennessee just came and surprised, sneak attack here and, stole one. But
that's not the vibe I got.
Okay.
Watching this game, they had the game in hand, and then they just came out flat in the second half and really just, I mean, I know Jimmy Garoppolo did get injured in this game. He's not going to be playing this week coming up. He tore a muscle in his thumb. He also chipped the bone in his thumb and what have you. So I get it. He was injured, but still, this is a run first team. I'm a little bit confused as to why they weren't able to put together a comparable showing to try to figure out how to finish the game out strong.
Well, I mean, Tennessee is another one of these teams right now that, it's kind of hard to put a finger on them from week to week. They're up 1 minute, down the next, middle of the road teams, powerhouse, power five team the next week. It's kind of a chameleon team. So San Francisco coming up short. I can see that, even though I picked them to win. I think they should have took the victory, but Tennessee was able to put together, one of those weeks where they was able to, get a solid, win, get a win that they needed. Now, it wasn't pretty, 20-17, but they got what they needed. And they kept themselves in contention. Now, I guess that's about as most you can ask for most of these teams that's trying to compete, to trying to get into the playoffs and possibly push for a Super Bowl run. But is Tennessee that team? Again, a chameleon team, up, down. Come next week or just in the next day or so.
Yeah.
Who knows what we're going to see to come tomorrow? I mean, hell, I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up tomorrow morning and all of a sudden Derrick Henry was activated. We heard nothing about this guy since he went on the IR. But the fact that, I'm just saying, it's just been weirder things have happened this year. So congratulations to Tennessee. I think they just put out a solid win. I'm really big on San Francisco, even though I was very down on them at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But they have proven to me that they're that team. Like, they can go on the road in some of these weird, non-conference games and go out there and, and make some noise. And I think they did. They just came up a little bit short, but it was more. So I would take it so much. It's not so much what Tennessee did. It's more of what San Francisco didn't do. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of the vibe that I got from it. It's just like, okay, you had a solid first quarter. The defense played phenomenal all night long, but it just ended up you're up 10-0 at the half. Let's see what we can do coming out of the half. Again, Jimmy Garoppolo went down with the injury, so we understand that also has to be factored into it. But still, it was just like, just came out so flat. There was really no life left in the team. And then Mike Vrabel and his guys just kind of battled through it. They weathered the storm and they came out with the victory. So props to them on that. But 2 days later, we got two big games on Christmas Day.
Yep.
Let's talk about the first one. Disappointing for sure. The Browns drop the game 22-24 against the Green Bay Packers. Packers at home get another victory. They are 7-0 at home right now, and they will play their last home game this upcoming week versus Minnesota. So that'll be an interesting game to watch there. We'll talk about some craziness in that one. But regardless, the Browns just come up that short against the Green Bay Packers, and it's 24-22. Packers win there. Again, I do not understand why people are so enamored with this 12-3 Green Bay Packers teams. It is not inspiring. This is a Browns team that threw 4 interceptions in this game. Why are you only winning by 2 at home in Lambeau?
Yeah, I mean, but as we've touched on so much this year, there's something missing in Green Bay, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side, but they're just finding ways of doing just enough, just to crank out these wins, just to get the W. Nothing overly impressive, nothing overwhelming, or will give you the warm tinglies and anything you could feel super confident with. That they're all of these games probably in 10 of these 12 victories, I mean, could have easily went the other way, and so they're not by any stretch of the imagination blowing teams out or blowing them out the water in the first half and coasting it in the second. And as you just said, with 4 turnovers, 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
You only walk out with a 2-point victory, and that was because they did miss a point after the first touchdown in the first quarter, and then they went for 2 and failed on the second touchdown. Yeah. That was your 2 points right there. Other than that, they played an equal game. In spite of 4 interceptions.
That's in spite of 4 interceptions, but it's also in spite of how many guys that they were missing offensively and defensively. Just the Packers should be better. I don't know any way around. And I know they're missing Jair Alexander and they're missing Kevin King. I get that. Those are 2 cornerbacks that you're missing. They weren't throwing the ball on you, obviously. They were scoring in other ways. So what is up with the offense along with the defense that they're just not playing complementary football? It doesn't look good. I know people are going to be happy with, hey, we got a 12-3 record. It's the best record in football, but it's not all about the numbers in that respect. It's also how you won these games. And you should have easily lost to Baltimore a few weeks back. Like Cincinnati could have got you so easily earlier on in the season. Can you go down the list? There's so many times that this Green Bay Packers team either got handed a win or just were actively trying not to win. And it's just, I don't see how this is going to translate into success in the playoffs. January football is different.
Right.
So when you're going up against hot teams like the Rams, even though that they might have a bye and they might be able to get a couple of guys back, you still got to introduce chemistry with those guys coming back. So it's still going to take them some time. And I'm really worried about this Green Bay Packers team when we're looking ahead at playoff football. I don't know if they're going to be able to stand up to the continuity that other teams have with their consistent play, whereas we never know if it's going to be a big offensive day for Aaron Rodgers, or is that toe going to start really getting at him and he's just not going to show up in the way that he usually does. Or defensively, sometimes they look like one of the best defenses in football. Other days they look trash. They look absolutely horrible. And it's just like, okay, well, are we going to get the defense that played against Baltimore, or are we going to get a defense that can hold you to just 6 points? Like, it just really doesn't know.
Yeah. A lot of questions to be answered for them, which, I think we'll start to be able to answer some of those questions more in the next couple of weeks when we get into playoffs, because as I think you believe this as well, but I'm of the opinion that that's where, the rubber meets the road when they get in the playoffs. And I really believe they're going to get caught. I'm not necessarily saying in the conference championship. It could be in the first, if they was to secure that first round bye. I think in their first home game, I think any of them teams in the playoffs can catch and sneak them, right at home. And taking the body of work, like you were saying, 1-point victory over like the Ravens, at the Ravens with Tyler Huntley, not with Lamar Jackson. Then we got a Baker Mayfield who's a shell of himself. He throws 4 interceptions, and they only you walk out of there with a 2-point victory based on really something that had nothing to even do with the interceptions. You give up 30 points to the Bears, but you have to score 45, giving your best, Kansas City Chiefs, impression of just outscoring the team. And
Cardinals then easily could have got you if AJ Green just turns around.
Yeah. Exactly. And then the week before that, the Rams, they beat them by, 8, 36-28. And just kind of,
the Rams weren't, they were in this weird area where they were trying to adjust. And
it's called in Green Bay.
That's also true.
You lose to the Vikings. You shut out Seattle 17-0, which is fine.
Without Russell Wilson.
Huh?
That's a Seattle team without Russell Wilson.
Thank you. Of course, they lose to the Chiefs. I mean, granted, Aaron Rodgers didn't play, but I don't care. They weren't gonna win. And I mean, then right before that, at the Cardinals, that was that 24-21. Just got by on them. 24-10 to the football team.
Before their defense started hitting their stride.
Right. The Bears 24-14, just a 10-point victory. Then they just skated by in Cincinnati by 3, 25-22. Just a 10-point victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are you serious? At home? And this is in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And then a 2-point victory in San Francisco. It's just, like I said, take about 10 of these 12 wins could have easily went the other way. Easily. So I think it's more so about the eye test that, they're winning. They're 12-3. I can respect that. Most people, I can see you for what you are. However, you're not striking fear in anybody. I'm on any given week, I can say, I can look at that matchup and say, I can see this team beat them, and not really giving any reservation to it. Like, they should be just fine. Like, why wouldn't they? Like, if anybody's due for a loss, it's this team. Because they've been flirting with it for the last several weeks anyway. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the other Christmas game. Colts get to a 9-6 record. They get a win on the road against Arizona, 22-16. Colts were super banged up. They basically lost their entire offensive line. And then they came into Arizona and smacked them around a little bit and just said, hey, we're going to take this Christmas win and go right on our merry way back to Indianapolis.
Yes. And very impressively.
Jonathan Taylor is MVP candidate for sure. He's my MVP frontrunner. I think I've been saying it for the last 4 weeks. It hasn't changed. This dude has been insane.
You're not going to get any opposition out of me because you already know that I thought he was the MVP quite a while ago, outside of maybe Cooper Kupp. But, because, we already had our conversations about this whole quarterback dominating the MVP thing. And I'm like, hey, you can have a quarterback in there, and maybe they need to change the rules, and maybe they don't have like 1 or 2 candidates only, and then the rest has to go to another position.
Make a QB only award.
They could, because if this has to deal with them having the ball more in their hands, I mean, by default, then never, no other position player can ever win it. And what is the point of this record then? At that point,
yeah.
But no, he's a man. I think he's surprised the world this year, which is interesting because he got more hype last year in his rookie year than he even did going into this season, which is the most interesting thing to me. And then he blows up, and now everybody's jumping on him and clamoring for this guy like they was last year, based on just people were projecting out as to what he was supposed to do. And this, which I was like, okay, I don't see it, but man, not for a rookie, but. With that being
he could be in this offense, because to me, what I was seeing with Jonathan Taylor in his rookie season was what I was seeing with Zeke, a phenomenal offensive line, a great talent that just needs a little bit more polishing, and this dude could be a stud in the league. That happened. I mean, it's exactly what happened with Jonathan Taylor. This dude is very talented. He's got all the talent in the world. He just had to get acclimated to the NFL game last year. He did that. Now he comes in this season with a full actual training camp under his belt. He comes in and just hits the ground running this year, and he never stopped. So,
yeah. I mean, all the accolades go to Indianapolis. I think I don't want to diminish the story or anything, but man, how do we not talk about what's going on in Arizona on the opposite side of this, of the football? And I mean, taking nothing away from the Colts. I mean, they did everything they were supposed to do. I think I was just, I took from this game, I was more shocked about what Arizona couldn't do. And I'm not saying that Indianapolis is not one of those teams that can shut a team down, but I'm like, you seriously told me that the Colts can go in there and just shut Arizona down and Arizona's offense? I thought you was crazy. And like, I'm sorry. I mean, they as good as the Colts is, I don't think they can do that, but they did that. But every team has been doing that for the second half of the year.
That is true.
And there's something obviously wrong, extremely wrong in Arizona right now. But led by Jonathan Taylor's, quiet, conservative, 27 for 108 yards. They just controlled the ground, the game on the ground, and Carson Wentz just let the game come to him. He threw the ball when he needed to throw it. He was just tactician. So,
and this is where I think Carson Wentz really shines, because we were looking at a guy who just the prior week went 5 for 12 in a win versus New England. And now he comes in, he's 18 for 28, 225 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. He's the only one who threw any touchdown pass for the Indy. There was no rushing touchdowns at all. So they like you said, they controlled the game with the run, but then they let Carson Wentz play too. So, and he has been quietly he has been the biggest protector of the football as a QB than any other quarterback this season. He has the least amount of turnovers. He's not giving the ball up. I mean, outside of the early part of the season where he had 2 sprained ankles and he was still dealing with the foot surgery and his offensive line was completely decimated. Now he's healthy and his offensive line is still decimated and he's putting up numbers like this. It's like, all right, give the man a little bit of respect. And then, granted, now he has COVID and we won't see him this upcoming week.
Well, he had just came off the COVID list as of today. So he actually, I believe, is going to be activated and will be playing tomorrow, believe it or not.
I did not get that news by any means. I'm hoping that is true because they have a real good opportunity at actually overtaking Tennessee to finish out these last 2 weeks. If they can get 2 wins and Tennessee just drops one of them, they are in the prime position to go ahead and take over the AFC South.
Oh yeah, they dropped both games to Tennessee, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Oh, yeah. So they would actually need to have Tennessee lose both games. Sorry.
Yeah, they can't tie.
Yeah, they can't tie. You're right. So it's still open for the AFC South, but Tennessee's got a pretty tough matchup coming up against Miami, and Indy's got a tough-ish matchup going up against a Vegas Raiders team. So, I mean, it's going to be a very tight race for the last 2 weeks for that AFC South crown. And whoever gets it is going to be happy because they get another home game to go into next week.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah, that is going to do it for the Christmas games. Let's talk about the rest of last Sunday. Was kind of packed with some goodies. Man, let's start with the big one. 33-21. Bills get a massive win to reclaim the lead of the AFC East. It just felt like after they lost that game and New England came back off of their bye week, and then they drop a game against Indy. It was just like, all right, they've opened the door now for Buffalo to reclaim this lead. They really needed that Indianapolis game last week. And when they dropped that one, I knew Buffalo smelled blood in the water.
I'm a little shocked. I thought New England was going to come out with a little bit more fight in there. From a fantasy perspective, stayed completely away from this game. Didn't want no part of it.
It was not a fun one to try to pick around.
No, until you start watching the game, and then I started seeing all of it. Regretted everything, benching all kind of players from Buffalo side of the ball.
Unless you for some reason had Isaiah McKenzie, I don't know what you're talking about. Isaiah McKenzie had himself a day, but everybody else was just like, all right, we'll dink and dunk to you here, to you there.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Diggs ended up with a very nice game at the end of this, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, yeah, 7 for 85 and a touchdown. So yeah, he had a solid game.
I was gonna say that was nothing to slouch at, but yeah, McKenzie was like the star, of course, with Allen, who kind of got it together in the second half. But yeah, it was just one of those, based on how it went a couple weeks ago, you just didn't want to touch this game. And
yeah, no.
Now with so much on the line, and Buffalo now had to go into New England. Buffalo has to go into New England. You just thought that it would just be a much more competitive game, or I thought, Buffalo was going to really have to come into a hostile environment and have to try to steal that game. And that's not quite how it played out. They just kind of, showed up like they were supposed to, and they just took it to them, and that was that.
They never looked back, and they just play a solid game. And I think that they hear all the talk of people saying that they're squandering their chance at taking the division and becoming the new leaders and building their own dynasty here and everything like that. And then they just went to work the last 3 weeks, especially when the Patriots went on their bye week. They got to win there. They got to win this last week. They got to win against New England. So they just wanted to do their job, do their work, and get in, get out, and make sure that they reclaim the lead. But now they just have to win out. I think they've got 2 super easy games left on the schedule. I think one is not Jacksonville. I think it's versus Atlanta, and the other one's versus the Jets. So Buffalo's got a real nice, easy way to wrap up this division. They get 2 wins. That the division is theirs. And same thing for the Patriots. They've got 2 really easy games, but now they just have to bank on either Atlanta or the Jets catching Buffalo in the next 2 weeks to try to get the division. Otherwise, it's just basically a lock for both of them getting into the playoffs right now.
Yeah, it was started out like a 4 or 5 star alarm for Buffalo based on this going into this New England game. Once they came out on the backside of it with the victory, it's just like, oh, it's all downhill now. All is well. It's just business as usual. They should just come out on top in the East when this is said and done. I said should. But you never know. This
team has been so up and down all season.
Which is true. But everything is favored for them. All they just have to just finish the season out. They just show up and do what you're supposed to do, and you should get out of there with a victory. And possibly that second or third.
That they did, because if they can continue to play this way against a New England team, and they can do that for the next 2 weeks against these 2 lesser teams, that is going to give them basically the blueprint on how to play in the playoffs against these other teams that I don't think anybody can really stop Buffalo if they're going to play this sound of football defensively and offensively.
Right. And then Buffalo was one of those teams that we've already been talking about, throughout the year as a true top contender, one of the top contenders. They, somewhere mid-season have definitely showed their inconsistencies, and I thought this was a get right game for them, and they got it right, So, and it was a statement because they didn't, there wasn't one of those ones they had to go in there and kind of, scratch and crawl and to try to get the victory. They went in there and just kind of soundly took it to New England and then got on the plane and went home.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Let's go ahead and talk about Chicago. They get on the road. They get themselves a nice win on the road against Seattle.
I was
Basically, they put that slow knife into Seattle and into the Seahawks and into Pete Carroll, I think, as well, in Russell Wilson's future with this team. And now officially eliminated from the playoffs, the Seahawks are. This is, again, the first losing season in Russell Wilson's tenure here in Seattle. And I don't see how Russell Wilson comes back to this situation next year.
Well, I mean, they got to trade him for one. I mean, does he? And they can't, he can't force a trade, but.
Yeah, he can.
Can he?
Yeah. He's got no trade clause. So
No. That's my point. Meaning, knowing Pete Carroll, he has no other cards to play. I can see him just doubling down and just playing hardball and be like, well, I'm just going to keep him here. Just grunt or not.
Because if he plays hardball, it would require Russell Wilson to force their hand. It's a matter of, I'm not going to play for you again. I'm done with this situation. I'm done with this organization. Mm-hmm. Trade me. If he says that, then they're like, well, where do you want to go? Like, we have to get these guys on the phone, and you don't have a no trade clause. We can't do anything. So he just has to do what he did last year and say, this team, and this team. I would love to see if Sean Payton stays in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. That is the spot where I want to see Russell Wilson next year.
New Orleans, that's interesting. And so what are we doing with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston?
Well, they're both free. Well, Taysom Hill is a perennial backup. That's fine. And Jameis Winston's a free agent. So it's just like, hey, sorry, dude. We're going to go with the Hall of Fame, the man, Mr. Russell Wilson.
I didn't know he was in the last year of his contract. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, Jameis Winston is done after this season. This is the last year, so.
I haven't really thought about possible destination places for Russell Wilson, but in New Orleans, that's interesting.
I would love to just see him with an offensive mind like Sean Payton. I think it would work phenomenally. And he'd do everything that he can to get more weapons for him too. Mm-hmm. I mean, Russell Wilson with a run game and Alvin Kamara, an offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in football. Michael Thomas coming back.
Is he coming back?
Hopefully. I mean, I would still love to see the man play.
I think we all would. It's been a minute.
Yeah. But, I mean, even if he's not, you can trade Michael Thomas and get other assets back. You got guys out in the open market like OBJ. OBJ would love to go back to New Orleans and play there. Go back and play in Louisiana.
Is he in his final year of his contract?
Yeah, they only gave him that 1 year deal over in with LA. So he's out there. You can pair him up. He can go anywhere.
And I find it hard that he's going to just be really quick to leave LA right now.
I don't think he's going to be quick to, but if there is a situation that's better or a situation that gives him a really good opportunity to be the guy again, and you get to do it with a Hall of Fame quarterback like Russ, I mean, like, I don't see why. I mean, I'm not saying that I would choose it over the Rams, but if the Rams can't give me the same amount of money and the New Orleans Saints, they give me more money, they're giving me a bigger role, they're giving me more attention, and it's still a fantastic situation where it's not going to be another Cleveland situation or another Giant situation, for sure I'm going for that. I think that he would at least entertain it.
Possibly. I mean, considering like you were saying, his situations back in Cleveland, and I guess when it went south in New York, because his first few years were just phenomenal.
100%. You know exactly. I'm talking about those last two seasons. There.
I figured that's what you were discussing. I was like, well, he did.
I have to clarify that. Yes.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, like you were saying, like if he's really looking for, I'm trying to be the number one guy. I'm like, I guess, but if you're gonna walk away from a Cooper Kupp, if you're playing second fiddle to him and you're OBJ and just and I guess as a coach or a fan or an agent, anything else, all I'm asking you to do is be OBJ and let Cooper Kupp do his thing. You two can arguably go down as one of the top two duos of all time. if you really throw it out there, I'm not getting ahead of myself because this requires OBJ to be OBJ of old, which we have not seen before.
Well, he's getting back to it. He has been phenomenal the last 3 weeks here in LA, and Cooper Kupp's about to break every receiving record known to man. So it's like.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Like they can be the next, Jerry Rice and John Taylor. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that John Taylor, but he was the other guy. Yeah, the other
John Taylor senior.
Yeah, you're right. Right. No relations. The Chris Carter and Randy Moss, type, combos. Just the Mark Clayton, Mark Duper, in Miami back in the 90s and early late 80s. But whatever. I'm just saying they could become that. But for him looking to go, he could become it profits him nothing. He becomes the one.
Sorry.
Okay, so he become the new number one. Like, what's a good team? I'll just say Atlanta. I'm just throwing it out there. Not that he would go there. Okay, you're the number one. Who's gonna be your number two? It can't be Russell Gage. It's like that. That's not gonna get it. Because I'm only saying that, and I only use that because we don't know what the hell's going on with Calvin Ridley and with the mental health stuff, and he may or may not come. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
I think we will see him back. That's not neither here nor there.
Yeah, but it's just that's what I'm trying to say. OBJ, you could be the number one, but your number two can't be the likes of just as an example, a Russell Gage. You're not going to get it done. What's going on?
I don't know. There we go. It should just go now.
You got to stop hitting the button.
I'm not touching anything. No, but going back to that, I think that even if it is OBJ leaving and he goes anywhere else, to me, he doesn't really. He does need a number two for sure. But I don't think it needs to be the likes of a Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods or anybody like that. So I think that they can make it work with just about anybody as long as they got a comparable number two over there. But it's just a matter of really comes down to it. It's Russell Wilson, him picking where he wants to go and picking the guys he wants to come with him. Is kind of where I was getting at because it seems like it's just over in Seattle. You got beat by the Bears, and Russell Wilson is over here. Like I initially said I wanted to be on that team. I wanted to be the quarterback beating you guys this year, and you're gonna just put this horrible and trash offensive line around me, not get me any other weapons to play with, and we're coming in and this is all we can do to go up against the Bears team that has been anemic all season long, a Bears team that is trotting back out Nick Foles
for the first time.
Yeah.
I couldn't get that out quick enough. I was letting you just go. But I was like, my God, it was the Nick Foles Chicago Bears, which
that's even more of a slap in the face.
That's my point. If that is not a send off for Russell Wilson, I don't know what is. Like you got eliminated by a team that's already eliminated. That should not be if you was going to get eliminated, it shouldn't have been by this team. But to get eliminated, it's not even about, it ain't even with Justin Fields. Hell, it wasn't even with Andy Dalton. It was with Nick Foles lacing it up for the first time this season. The very first time. And he looks like that clutch Nick Foles. Thank you, Nick Foles. We needed a win victory. I'll take it. But good Lord, for Seattle, that is not a good look. Not a good look. And for Russell Wilson, that should have pushed him further out the door, which it warms my heart. It makes me smile to just know that Pete Carroll is tossing and turning and not getting any kind of restful sleep these days. Because it's over, sir. I cannot see him reconciling this team at this point because you did nothing to reconcile.
Yeah. He made a couple of comments that we'll get to in a bit here. Okay. But I think even Pete Carroll is seeing some of the writing on the wall. But the Falcons, they got themselves a nice win, 20-16 versus the Lions. Falcons win a game.
Okay.
That happened. Moving on.
Yeah, it does. Because
Jesus Christ.
I like how you always skate past Atlanta, but that's fine. Atlanta's just been putting them.
I don't care about the fact that they're 7-8 and they mathematically still have a chance of getting in. The
fact that they 7-8 in light of their team is a story in itself.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, but that's all I was getting. So
that's as far as it goes. I just want to give
applause.
Credit.
You guys got yourself a win. Cool.
Yeah, and as much as we've been bashing this team, the fact that they even 500 nearly, that's actually impressive.
That is a fair point. That's all I want to say. How bad this roster is, you are right. It is impressive that they are 7-8.
And let's be very clear. You got no business losing to Detroit. You won. Thank goodness. Congratulations. You did what you were supposed to do. You saved
yourself from embarrassment.
Thank you. Let's move on. That's all. I will give you that credit, and then I'm going to move on from it.
All right.
Let's go.
Bengals, they got themselves a massive, massive win. 41-21 versus the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Burrow.
Oh, stop.
How is he? Stop. He got snubbed so hard from the Pro Bowl. I think that was the biggest snub of them all. I mean, outside of Matt Stafford, but Joe Burrow on the AFC side not getting a Pro Bowl nod, I think was just borderline offensive.
Oh, over Herbert? That's and that's God. See, this is this eye candy thing where everybody, for some reason, the LA Chargers is the sexy pick, and I'm like, they're not that damn team.
I don't give a damn about the team. Just, if you're looking at eye test watching football this year, Joe Burrow has been one of the best quarterbacks in football all year long. It has been insane without an offensive line. This offensive line has one guy on it, and it's Riley Reif, who got cut twice from the Minnesota Vikings.
And obviously, obviously, the offensive line is a lot better than what we're giving credit.
No, they are getting the ball out very quickly. Even though the Ravens just stopped trying to rush the passer in this game, they do. Cincinnati has one of the quickest snap to throw times in the entire entire NFL. So there is a reason why he's not getting sacked. It's because he literally is not holding on the ball long enough for him to get touched by the defensive line. So that's what's going on there. They still have a absolutely rancid and horrible and deplorable offensive line. That is without a doubt. And I think that is going to be their number one focus. I thought it was going to be last year, but that is definitely going to be their number one focus heading into this next offseason. But it doesn't look like that offseason is coming anytime soon, because this team is possibly the hottest team in the AFC right now, outside of, granted, the one above all in Kansas City right now, but
some respect on that.
But 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was 37 for 46 in this game. Like, where did Joe Mixon was 18 for 65 and a touchdown? Like, they have no weaknesses right now on the offensive side of the ball.
All right. I mean, okay, we could go there. We can also just, focus on how bad and how poorly that Baltimore is playing right now. Also,
that is true. I think, that is also a fact.
I trust me. You know me. I'll be the first to give Cincinnati their flowers, but of course they'll like how we were just saying with the Chargers, man. They one of those up and down teams like Tennessee. They just hot 1 minute, it's cold the next, and smoking hot last week. But they beat come on, man. Baltimore is a shell of themselves. And, it's been unraveling right before our eyes. This is the first time I'm finally having to just put this in proper perspective. The Bengals did everything they were supposed to do. They took advantage and capitalized on a team that was not prepared to play them.
Hold on. Okay,
go right in.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what team you're a fan of and who you have colors for. This is the NFL. It doesn't matter how good or bad. Let's just go look at Matt Ryan. 18 for 24, 215 yards and 1 touchdown versus the Detroit Lions. Nick Foles versus the Seahawks was 250 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen versus the New England Patriots had a fantastic day with 314 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's against good defenses. Let's go look at some really, really bad defenses. The Jets, Trevor Lawrence came out there and only threw for 280 yards. Tom Brady up against the Panthers defense only threw for 232 yards, and he absolutely decimated that team. Justin Herbert only threw for 336 yards against Houston. 525 yards. I don't care who you are. That is an insane stat line in any NFL game.
Yeah.
That deserves props regardless of who you're playing, how depleted that team is. You put an NFL team on the field and you got 525 yards thrown on you. That quarterback deserves their praise.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they do. But when we talking about the AFC North, I'm sorry. When you jumping on a team when they are just a shell of themselves, I'm sorry. For the strength of schedule, you got the victory, but ain't nobody finna sit there and just ignore the fact that team was just in shambles. I'm just saying, not a real fan is from a competition standpoint. They're not gonna just give them a pass where they got the W, no questions asked. No,
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that yes, there are some holes there, but regardless of how depleted that team is, throwing for 525 yards.
No. You're right. I'm not going to sneak at that because even against the bad teams, take Jacksonville. I'm like saying Jacksonville's played 16 times already. They have not given up or let a team get 500 yards on them.
Exactly.
No matter what. So I get it. It's just. I can't speak to this thing in proper context only because it's an anomaly anyway. They jumped on them and they did what they had to do, regardless of who was standing there or not. It did not matter. Whatever. I'm just saying, Lamar Jackson is out there. Maybe they don't have as many possessions. I'm just saying, maybe.
And that is a true statement. Maybe, I will give you that.
I don't know. Maybe the defense is not so amped up and feel like they got to put it all on their back, even though they couldn't do anything. Obviously. Baltimore.
What are they getting amped up for?
That's what I'm saying. It's so much stuff I would have to dissect just to put everything in its proper context. Given I give everything to Cincinnati, I would just wish they would do that to a fully intact team. That would make me more confident, as opposed to come next week, then they'll drop a game, won't even get 300 total yards of offense. And then that'll be the end.
I'm
of
expecting this game to be a fantastic game this upcoming week.
Oh, granted, I completely forgot. They're playing the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, because I'm only saying that because they're in Cincinnati. So they do have a puncher's chance of winning. I won't take that away from them, but it ain't gonna be. You ain't playing Baltimore. That's all I'm saying. I'll be damned if they're gonna throw for 500 yards on.
Not expecting that. No,
I'm not either. Yeah. And Kansas City's defense is technically worse. So the numbers are
Kansas City's defense has been so much better the last. If we're going to just take a sample of their last month and a half, they've been one of the best defenses the last month and a half.
Absolutely, especially specifically from if we take week 8 on.
Yeah,
because them, or I said week 9, around about that point.
Yeah,
from that point on, they have been a whole different team. So for sure. And I get that. So I mean, which makes this is a rough game for me though. I know we're getting that into another segment, but it's just like that is one to watch. Kansas City and Cincinnati. So because Cincinnati, you put up that 500-yard game. Now you gotta come with it next week. What do you follow that up with? You can't put a clunker out there because what is there to be said?
As long as Joe Burrow has himself a good game, he's got to be at least. I would be fine with 275, 2 touchdowns, and they run the ball a little bit better, more effectively. That would be, to me, would be perfectly fine to follow it up with and just have it be a close game. I'm not even looking for them to win this game coming up, but if they can just play well offensively, it would definitely give credence to this 525-yard game, not just being an anomaly.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the Rams and the Vikings, because I'm done with the Vikings. I think I've been saying it for quite some time, but I'm done with this team. Like, Matthew Stafford threw 3 interceptions in this game. How did you still lose by a touchdown?
I don't know, because this guy had.
At least Green Bay figures out a way to win the game when they get their interceptions. Like, what the heck was this?
I don't know. I just, I don't know. All I know, he was making my life miserable last week for the first 3 quarters. And I'm like, man, what in the hell is going on here? This dude, they threw 1 touchdown.
You're telling me I had to sit next to my uncle who I'm playing, and I'm starting Matthew Stafford, throws 3 interceptions. I'm like, they're winning the game, though. How is this happening?
It made 0 sense whatsoever. Everything was turned on his ear. It was just one of them kind of games. But it seems more times than not, we get these kind of games when it's Minnesota. Like they want to, come. Like as I watch Zimmer in this game, it seemed like everything in his game
his mind because he's about to lose that job.
Yeah, but everything in his game plan was we got to do whatever we got to do to stop Stafford and Cooper Kupp. That if we don't do that, we can't do anything else. And it's like he gave his first 3 quarters was just that was their plan. Whatever else happens. And I'm like, this is why y'all on the bubble. This is why you're on your way out of the playoffs. This is why you got an outside view looking in, trying to get back into the playoff picture, which even if you call it the 7th seed, what are you really going to do once you get into the playoffs? Seriously, what noise is it even worth it at this point? Because at this point, it's no more than saying we're just doing this for pride. But no one plays for the 7th seed or the last seed to get in. They play for the playoffs. They play for a championship. They play to be competitive. They're not just playing just to say, well, we just don't want to miss the playoffs.
Even when Washington made it last year, they came in there and they played a fantastic game against Tampa, who went on to win the game, win the whole thing.
Right.
So, I agree with you there.
It was just one of them weird games. And finally, LA was able to put the game together and kind of put it away in the 4th quarter. But it was uphill battle. We was having a true desperate team on, about to get eliminated or on the brink of being eliminated. So they playing for their playoff lives, which one would question, why wouldn't you just playing like this all season? Why would you playing with that type of, that type of edginess all year long? It shouldn't wait till you're about to get mathematically eliminated out of the playoffs before you want to show up and get super. We want to come up with strategies and we want to come up with a plan and we're trying to execute this and we're going to try to come on, man. Where the hell y'all been all season?
Yeah.
Seriously. And I don't have a problem with you have that kind of mindset and that mentality and you lose games. But when you just go in and just, we just think we're just better than what we really are all season long. And now you're at the point of elimination. And now you want to sit here and try to get up for this big game at home. It's kind of like too little too late, but this is kind of, I'm going to put it out there. This is Minnesota's MO. And this always has been, man. They're suspect, and this is the problem I have as a fan. Am I a division rivalist? Yes, but I'm sitting here giving a critique to what the competition is, and this fan, this team and this fan base is just on a whole nother level of nonsense, man. Like, dude, when it comes to competing, I don't understand the mentality there, and it's on a whole different wavelength that I am not personally with, and I personally would probably never get with. Yeah. Personally, I just can't, man. That's not a recipe for winning. That's just a recipe for trying not to lose type of thing. Like, well, if you're not, one player not to win, or playing not to lose. What do you mean? Either you playing to win or you're losing. It's one or the other. I'm playing out to lose, Okay.
That must be their mentality when they get to Super Bowls. So
I wouldn't know. Never seen one in my lifetime. So
that's true too.
Haven't seen one.
Quickly here, kind of cruising through this one. Jets get a win 26-21 versus the Jaguars. Michael Carter had himself a day, 16 for 118.
That was our X factor there.
Yeah, it was.
Only reason why we picked him.
Yeah. So they get themselves a win there. 4th win on the season. Jaguars still suck.
Complete mess.
Giants, they lose on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia 34-10. Jalen Hurts, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. Miles Sanders, 7 carries for 45 yards. Devontae Smith, 5 receptions for 80 yards. Like, they just were all around effective on the offensive side of the ball, kept the ball moving. Giants just never had anything. I don't know if there's any other way of putting it.
Answer me this one question about this matchup, and this is the only question I've had that had me pondered. Kind of had me stumped in the entire game. How the hell did the Giants score 10 points? I could not understand how. I was shocked they even got any points on the board. I thought this was going to be a blowout.
I mean,
but it wasn't. I mean, what I'm saying? I'm sorry. A shutout. Yeah. Not a blowout. It should have been a shutout. And I was like, well, they gave up. I know they gave up 3 early, and then it was just some garbage time touchdown later in the game. So, and I already told you my stand with the Giants. I'm like, I don't give a damn who they play. It could be Jacksonville. I'm taking Jacksonville. The Jets. Give me the Jets. And I'm like, I'm not even questioning it. It's just I'm so down on this team. They have some talented pieces. I don't think they have a talented nucleus. Hear me out. They have some talented pieces. And I mean, it's one of these, they got some talent where these are players that are going to be one of the look to, jump ship and go elsewhere. And these are going to be high priced commodities. That's all I'm seeing coming out of the New York, but they don't have a nucleus to build off of. There's nothing good going on in New York right now for the Giants team.
It is abysmal.
That's all I have to say. For them in our week 17. I know we got one more week of me getting them to bash them before they go into the playoffs and never be done for their season. But yeah, I just throw just another chapter in for the Giants, man. I was down on week 2. Like I couldn't.
No, you stuck with them for a little bit. You had maybe a 4 or 5 week stretch where you were trying to see if they could do anything. Kept picking them, kept trying it.
Wait a minute, I may have picked them. No. In fairness, I think I picked them maybe twice this whole season.
Yeah,
because I went against what I said early, like a couple times, and that was based on a wonky matchup. And I think I even split those 2 games. And I'm like, from that point on, I went back.
No,
to my
I don't think you split. I think you never got it. You didn't get the games. You couldn't get them. You couldn't pick them right. They kept losing.
It doesn't matter. That's my point.
So it was just a really weird team. And but I agree with you. This team just does not. There's no inspiration anywhere on this team, coaching wise, players, nucleus, quarterback. Like, what does this team have? What are they trying to do? And it looks like they're trying to tank. But hey, you got 4 wins. Like, they've only got 4 weeks of a healthy Saquon Barkley this season. They shut down Daniel Jones for the year, even though they have to evaluate him because you're going to have to either pay him or cut him at some point. You don't have an offensive line. You never did. You're wasting Kenny Golladay over there. Well, he's he did it to himself. And then defensively, what is the defense is horrible. They can't stop a nosebleed.
No, the team is in shambles right now. I like that fact that you brought up Kenny Golladay because I do want to make a reference to that. Have to.
You have to.
So, 17 weeks later, Kenny Golladay is exactly the dude I thought he was. Cotton ball soft. Injury prone now. I mean, I could add that to his resume. Now he's an injury prone.
Or is he just like, I'm not playing for this team?
Now, hold on. Let me list off his injuries.
Okay.
Fractured psyche, broken heart.
Oh no! No!
Sprained outlook. Oh my God! I think I knocked it out the park on this guy. I don't want to be that guy say I told y'all so, but I told y'all so.
I mean, nobody could take you seriously when you said it because you said it in the jaded fashion of he passed up on both Kansas City and Chicago.
And he did.
Yeah.
And at least Chicago has enough foresight in their dysfunction to understand that they truly are in a rebuild. Like they did start with a quarterback. It's not one of those, well, we brought Andy Dalton over here and let's see if we can start putting some pieces together and build. They didn't do that. Thank God we didn't do that.
By the way, where's Kadarius Toney?
Right on the couch with Galladay. They injured. These guys can't. None of them can stay healthy. Oh, along with your man Shepard, who went out for the 4th time this season.
Yeah, he's on the injury report this week.
And so I mean, me stating that he passed on Chicago and Kansas City. I don't think that's a bad stretch. I mean, like I said, Chicago is more or less in a rebuild. In Kansas City is a contender, and the Giants are what? They just got money to offer, and I'm like, and that's what he took. I don't know what type of deal or package he got. He might have got some endorsement deals, and probably that will make sense, from a business standpoint, but from a football standpoint, and we said this months ago, it's not going to translate on the field. Like you're playing for a bad team, and his injuries don't help the situation. So my critical analysis of him has gotten even more critical, at this point, because I'm like. Like I said, he was going to have to really show me something in New York for me to back off of him because I already seen the road he was going down. And it's like I'm seeing a lesser version of Alshon Jeffries. He should be 10 times the player than Alshon, and yet he plays just like him. Or same results. And just like I said, just don't have that dog. And very talented, but don't have that dog in him and can't stay healthy. I don't know if you remember this, but reminiscence of Alshon Jeffries, same type of career. I don't know if this is the same guy, actually. Just changed the thing. I don't know. I seen one, you seen the other. That's all I'm going to throw out. I'm leaving it at that.
All right. The Buccaneers got themselves a 32-6 win against the Panthers. Did what they were supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Okay. But
what is your take? Go ahead.
I was going to say AJ Brown signing 10 for 101.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, not bad, but more so, what I'm still trying to figure out over here in Carolina, what is going on with Cam?
He's done. I've been saying it for the last 3 weeks. No,
I understand that, but they keep throwing him out in the games, and that's what's confusing me. If he's done, why do they keep playing him?
Because I don't think they have any reason to trot back out Sam Darnold right now. And I think the other one was on COVID. So at this point, they just are like, we're going to keep Sam Darnold as the backup. Cam's going to retire, and we'll let go of whoever the other guy is. And we're going to do whatever we can to get one of these quarterbacks in this QB carousel this year.
I guess. So I guess my question to all of that, based on what you just said, what is your take with Matt Rule at this point for the job he's pulled off this season with Carolina?
This year is very disappointing, but I do want to see him with a quarterback. Like, he had a really solid year with Teddy Bridgewater, and I wish they would have kept Teddy Bridgewater, but now just Sam Darnold and this mess with Cam Newton and Sam Darnold getting injured earlier on in the year, and just all of this mess is just like, okay, this was all a wash to begin with. And then they made the play to go get Stephon Gilmore and try to integrate him. And so they have a lot of moving pieces, but they have a very solid defense. They have pieces on the offense that are actually really good. They just need to flesh it out. And I think it starts with a quarterback. So if they can go after one of these guys this offseason, I would keep Matt Rule and see what he can do if you can get a franchise quarterback that's going to be in this carousel this year and see what Matt Rule can do with him and evaluate Matt Rule at that point. That would be the ideal situation. If he can't do it with an actual good quarterback, then you can't do it with anybody. So,
yeah, that's true. I was just curious about your take. I know, that's one of you guys this season, and this has just been kind of
disappointing. I'm not going to say anything, but this has been a very disappointing year and a very disappointing showing for Matt Rule.
Yeah, since October, it has just been
downhill.
Yeah, completely. So, all right.
Speaking of Chargers, the hell was that this week? 41-29. We just don't care about the playoffs, do we?
See, this would be fitting for if this team was led by like Kenny Galladay. This would make sense to me because you talk about two entities that are just tanking on all types of levels of life. It just this Chargers team is really starting to show me who I really thought they were in the first place. That they're a good team that have flashes of brilliance, but they're about a year or two away from being that team. Not 2 years away from being 2 years away, but they're a year or two. They're ahead. They were way ahead of the curve, especially for what they were being predicted. That did not fit the MO for me. I'm like, I see what they did last year. They jumped out there when nobody thought they was really supposed to be out there to be, contending with in the first place, to just continue and elevate and move. I've never seen that type of progression. You don't see that often in the NFL, which is why I couldn't put my finger on San Francisco in the last couple of years, because they came out of nowhere when they went to the Super Bowl, and then, of course, and it was decimated by injuries. And then we got this year, and it was like, okay, what the hell are we looking at this year? I don't know. It ain't the same damn team, but but with that being said, we have the Chargers. And it's the same questions of, okay, what team is supposed to show up this season? Yes, Justin Herbert had this brilliant rookie year. It thrusted upon us, birthed out of a malpractice situation, basically. And then here we are. And I'm supposed to just go off of that and act like, okay, let's just ignore all the other teams that were already in line. It's just like, nope, let's just push this team to the forefront. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And as much as you've seen me struggle with them throughout the year. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and give credit where credit is due. And I give them their flowers. And every time I've given it to them, they have sat here and just trampled them every single time. And I'm like,
so
and now
what you're saying is you just need to stop talking about the Chargers.
No, what I'm saying is I'm just going to have to stop being. I'm just going to be down. That's I like how you put that. But I'm just going to have to be down on them and just start calling it as I see it. Like y'all have skilled players. Y'all are a good team, but y'all are not that team. I'm gonna have to start putting my foot down to, have that disposition that they're not that team. Because
what I can't figure out though is where is the problem? What happened? Like, this team has not let anybody score 40 points on them this year. Like, that's just not happening. And
unless they playing down to the competition, which is still not good on your resume.
No, it's not.
There's obviously some issues that have to be addressed on this defensive end. Their rush defense, not that good. They don't do all that great against, so I mean, what's been happening over the course of this year statistically, their defense has just been coming out suspect. Like they'll show up here and there, but they cannot sustain consistency of dominance on the defensive end of the ball, whether it's for the run game or the pass game. And that, I think, has affected them the most, and it has spilled over to them, affecting them on the offensive side of the ball, where Herbert has played well this year. Going to a Pro Bowl, so I mean, I'm not going to sit there and act like that they just threw his name down in the hat and they just snubbed this guy over here on the others. That didn't quite happen. I think he earned it as much as anybody else did. But it has not translated to victories, and definitely have not translated to any kind of sustained consistency over there in LA, where you're looking at this team like, I think this team's the real deal going into the playoffs this year. I don't think so. It's kind of like, well, who are they playing? Where are they playing? You kind of
not even make it to the playoffs.
Thank you. They're one game over 500 right now. So it's like you talk about a bubble team. They're that team. I would have understood them being a bubble team at the beginning of the year, but it was like blasphemous for me to say the things I was saying early this season. Like, oh my God, how could you put them down that low in the rankings? And so, how are y'all putting them so high? What the hell did they do to be up in the top top 10 in the preseason. I'm sorry. I don't understand that. What happened? Because Justin Herbert had a good rookie year. Sorry, didn't move the needle for me. I mean, like, it was situational more so than he was groomed for that. That was my thing. And granted, maybe because he wasn't groomed, people felt more enamored by him. I didn't. It just, for what I was seeing, he didn't pass the eye test for me, where I was just so enamored by what he was doing on the field. And there was nothing wrong with what he was doing on the field. I just think it was more of a small sample size and for the moment type of thing. But when defenses in the NFL and teams start to figure this team out, they're going to have to adjust and recalibrate and come out with a new strategy. And it's not going to be just Justin Herbert just on his wheel and his wits in his arm, and he's going to go out there and just carry teams to victory. I don't see that as a winning combination in LA. I don't think that's what they were doing last year. It was just more so they just didn't, there was no game film on this guy, and he is talented, and he was able to do what he did last year, which was quite phenomenal considering, with the position he was put in. But granted, hell, he wasn't on one of my draft boards or one of these players I had researched in depth or anything like that. So I wasn't, I just wasn't in love with the idea of Justin Herbert. I was just more so, let me just watch him and see what he does and see how it translates over into the game of football. And this year, more than anything, I'm seeing it. There's inconsistencies here, and that's fine. But it's finally coming out, because coming into the offseason, coming into this during the offseason, coming into this year, there was virtually no weaknesses even mentioned about this team, which I was just like, wow, they just checking all the boxes off. And I don't understand how it's not grounded or rooted in anything. That was my point. Taking nothing away from them, but then you get this game, 41-29 in Houston. Are you serious?
No, this is not a good game at all. This is just disappointing to see, because of the talent that's on this team. It's just like, you should be steamrolling a team like Tech. You should be the one scoring 41, and they should only have maybe 19. This was not an okay game to put on film. When I saw this happening, I was just like, we got virtually every other game right. It was just like, what the hell happened here? So,
right.
It just a bad showing at all around. But in some good news for the AFC West, we finally have a division winner, with the Kansas City Chiefs getting themselves a 36-10 win versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers get themselves back to a 500 spot right now, 7-1. Chiefs get to 11-4, number one in the AFC, West, and they are
back.
They're the only team in the AFC to have clinched a spot in the playoffs so far.
Surprise.
It is for where they were. That was wow. It was not
Murderers Row. I'm not gonna play that down. That schedule was ridiculous.
But even then, you wouldn't have thought, okay, well, now this team is going to be at the very top and they are going to win the whole. Not that they're not going to win the AFC West. That one, I think, was still. I was telling people, calm down. They're still going to win it. You're going to be fine. But it came down to what was going to happen at the top of the AFC. Now they're the front runners in the AFC. I don't think anybody saw that coming from when they were 3-4.
Well, most people didn't, but I did, because it was just a matter of the schedule. Like, once they get past that first 7-8 weeks, the second half, we stated this. It was a cakewalk. Granted, they could drop a game here or there. Like, hell, they got Cincinnati this week. If they lost this week, I wouldn't be surprised. But my point being is, people acting so surprised, like, oh my God, they're back, they're surging. Really, it was just the schedule. Like, okay, if I don't have to sit there and play Baltimore, Indianapolis, and Buffalo in 3 of the first 4 weeks, and then we throw in Pittsburgh, I'm like, just damn, what are you expecting? Like I said, if the Chiefs can't sweep through that type of scheduling, who in the league was going to? It's like it's impossible, man. And they were victims of a very bad schedule. And yes, the defense looked horrible in the first month, and then all of a sudden, yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. And then in October, the offense just disappeared for the first time ever in the Patrick Mahomes era. So
that's the thing that scared people.
I think that's what it was.
The offense didn't show up. You weren't scoring nearly 30 points a game. It was just like, all right, Pat, what are we doing? Where are we going? Where are you at, Travis Kelce? Where are we at, Tyreek Hill?
Which is interesting in the NFL world, because it's like, okay, in what world did you ever see a team just score 30 plus points a game every game?
Doing it for 3 years. We're just like, what?
No. Prior to this, I'm talking about any football, and not somebody who just walked into the football the last year or so. Like, come on, man! Like, the Greatest Show on Turf wasn't even doing this. I don't believe. Like, I don't even remember them scoring like this. Like game in and game out. They were very. It was a similarity to it, but I don't think they were scoring like that. Or the expectation was they're going to score 30 plus a game, and if they not, there's something wrong with this team. I'm like, unfortunately, that just became Kansas City's identity for some reason or another.
Literally, nobody could stop them from scoring 30 points a game for 3 straight years. We were just like, what happened? Where did that go?
It took, I don't know, NFL finally caught up and figured something out. I don't know.
Clearly it didn't, because now they're scoring 30 points a game again, and now the defense is back to holding teams under 30
points. Let me be very clear. They didn't figure anything out. That was a scheduling issue. I can't say this enough. Now that Murderers Row is over with, and that's not that they were the only ones that was that had to go through it. I just think they had the worst version. They had the worst schedule by far, in my opinion. But 3 and 4, okay, they played 500 through the first half of the season. And I mean, granted, hell, if you damn near play perfect in the second half of the year, it's almost like that didn't even exist. They they basically erased that entire first 7 weeks. And
they won 8 straight games. So I mean, they've been on fire. I don't know if there's anything any way around that. So, I mean, props to them, because they've definitely put everybody back on notice, saying, hey, this is still our conference for one, our division for the other. I mean, I felt like they were definitely slighted when people were saying, okay, this is the Chargers division to run away with. So I think with them hearing that talk and coming in here, having a chance to get that victory against the Steelers team that is really just doing everything that they can to stay alive right now. Patrick Mahomes came in here and said, no, we're just going to wrap up that discussion this week altogether and just knock out this 36-10 win. And they made the Steelers look like they were a high school football team. Like, they could not compete with them.
Yeah. Not a good game. Not a good game at all.
Well, another game that was horrible to watch in that regard. Broncos, man, drop the ball 13-17. Raiders get the win there, 8-7.
No,
Raiders keep their playoff hopes alive.
They do. And this was a no-brainer for me. Teddy Bridgewater goes down, I'm done. That was the only thing that has been the only connection between me and Denver's success this year. It all begins and ends with Teddy Bridgewater. I'm sorry. I mean, Denver has a good nucleus on both sides of the ball. I mean, that team is primed for, like, we're talking about some of these, these possible quarterbacks being moved and shifted around. That's a prime spot for one of these top quarterbacks to try to go to Denver. I know you said, like Russell Wilson to New Orleans, and that's an interesting take. And I don't have a problem with that, but I think Denver's name should be thrown in that hat as well. Like,
I'm not saying that New Orleans should be the number one, that it is his number one destination. I would, as a fan of Russell Wilson, where I would want to see him is in New Orleans. That's just me. I have no problem people saying that the favorite spot for Russell Wilson should be Denver, especially because that'll definitely be an easier trade to get done since it's out of conference. So
it could be, but man, if Wilson was to go to Miami, and this is nothing against Tua, I'm just saying,
no,
just because the name keeps coming up, but just the destination and all that. Just saying, you talk about re-revolutionizing a storied franchise from the past. I'm just working the angles here, but
I think that's Deshaun Watson's job.
Should be. If he's to be reinstated in the NFL and whatever, I don't know.
He's not. He hasn't been kicked out. They haven't done anything. It's
not
just
yet. They're not going to do anything until they have to do. So all I'm saying is, it doesn't just end with it. There's so much more layers to the Deshaun Watson thing, I think, than it's just him moving from one team to the next. I think that is the least of the issues for him right now, because whether he gets a settlement or not, then the NFL has to be forced to have to still do something.
I think the second that since it's civil, since it's not a criminal lawsuit, what I'm thinking that the NFL is going to do is say, you handle it. Once you have it handled, we won't say a word. We're not going to do anything. It's a civil lawsuit. Just get that stuff, shut them up. And as soon as you can do that, we're fine. And you can play. That's what the NFL is going to do with the situation.
We'll see. We'll see. And you could be right.
It was a criminal lawsuit. They would be like, okay, we really have to investigate. We really have to reprimand. We really have to lay down the law with all of this stuff. If any of these allegations are true, we're going to have to kick you out and all that stuff. I totally understand if this was a criminal lawsuit, but it's not.
Oh, that's true. Oh, that's true. But what I think that trumps all of this is that if the NFL has not shown us anything else when it came to these legal matters, that they couldn't be more inconsistent in their rulings than any other point. So any two situations, they'll never handle the same anyway. So with that being said, you're absolutely right. It could be absolutely wrong all at the same time, and vice versa here. All I'm saying, I will say this again and reiterate, I think is there's a lot more to go. There's a lot more steps that's going to be involved in this Deshaun Watson thing beyond him just changing teams. I think that's the easiest thing that's going to happen in this transition, that he can get traded.
I mean, I could definitely agree with that.
Everything else,
huh?
I was saying everything else, that's left to subject, like where they go from there and how they decide to deal with him, and does the NFL get involved and all? Oh, geez, yeah, it's just we'll see. I don't want to speculate too much, but what I was saying, I said all that to say, I think Denver is a prime spot for a franchise quarterback to come into, because they have the nucleus is in place, and again, they have Teddy Bridgewater now. Teddy Bridgewater could be that guy if they want to just put more pieces around him, and they could just build off of that. But once he went down, I'm good. Give me Vegas all day long. I don't care what the points is. You can give the other team the points. I'm just taking. Give me the give me the opposition. Denver, no, it's just not gonna happen, and it did.
Gotcha. All right. Sunday Night Football was quite a riot. The Washington football team got decimated on the road here, 56-14. God, that was not pretty. That was a massacre. That would. Why did nobody throw in the towel? Like, there was no humanity in this absolute thrashing the Cowboys laid down on Washington past week.
Yeah. 42 at the half.
42 to 7.
I could look, I ain't seen the likes of this type of scoring since, like I said, back in my childhood. This is Tecmo Bowl stuff. This is pre John Madden football type stuff. Tecmo Bowl is where you be sitting there putting up 21 and 28 points a quarter. It's 35-0 at the half. You're going to finish the game 56-3. That's just how it goes. I could not believe every time I looked up.
Every time
I looked up, Cowboys had the ball. The Cowboys were driving. The Cowboys just scored again. I walked away. They had already scored again. I'm like, where is the? Every time I turn my head, the points keep moving up again, and it is 42-7 at the half. Why are we even having a second half? You're not coming back. I'm sorry. I don't give a damn if you bring out the practice squad for the next half, and that's it. You're not coming back.
I could not understand what
embarrassment, Washington.
That was. I have never seen the Cowboys so angry.
Did something happen? Somebody say something to somebody? Know.
This wasn't like the Raiders when Kansas City came and thrashed them for stepping on their logo before the game a few weeks back. This was nothing like that. Right. They came in, they were just like, all right, it's the day after Christmas. Let's play this game and let's get home, guys. And Cowboys were like, no, we mean business. And just, why did nobody throw in the towel? Like, why did nobody tell them that they were dead? This game was over. This game was over by the first quarter. They were 21-0.
Yeah, that's ball game right there.
Ball game right there.
And then they, oh my God, it just an encore performance in the very next half. How do you give up 42 points in a half? I'm like, when I saw Chiefs lose 42-41 or 39, and that's the entire game.
I left
42 points in one half of football.
I left after the first quarter, and I did not watch the second quarter. I came back, and I thought the game was over. They were like, "We're going to the Toyota studio," and I was like, "All right, game's over, 42-7." And back to the second half, I was like, "What?" There is still another 30 minutes of football that still needs to be played here. Like that, I don't know how you have enough time to do that in the first half. How do you score three like you touch the ball and you score? That's all that happened.
I don't. I don't know. Ron Rivera. Like I said, get it together. I don't know what happened, but this was a big time division rival. You know what I mean? I was going in so hard about they playing, damn near 500 football against each other. And they're like, oh yeah? Okay. We heard that. Let me show you what 500 don't look like. And I'm like, oh my God, you talk about somebody separating themselves from the pack. Now I can give Dallas. It took 16 weeks for me to give them their full credit that they are that contending team now. I've had to see them. This couldn't be. This couldn't be Seattle. This couldn't. This couldn't be Jacksonville or they win they stomped over the Jets. That wasn't going to work for me. A division rival such as this. And to do what they did to them, like in this fashion, I mean, okay, I'm excited now. Dallas has shown me that they're ready, and they're ready to make some noise here. And they're not finna just lay down for the Green Bays and the Tampa Bays of the world, of the NFC, and just let them have a day against each other. They're like, nah, they're throwing their foot. They're throwing their name in the hat just like anybody else's, and I think they're a legit contending team. And that was a statement game that I think that propelled. If you wasn't paying attention to them, like I was, of course, but if you wasn't giving them their credit or giving them the credit of saying that they're that contending team, this victory shows that. Hands down, they are that team.
I mean, you just have to look at the thing like – Cowboys still have a shot at winning the entire NFC. They just need Green Bay to drop one game. If Green Bay loses one game and Cowboys win out and they tie records at 12-4, 13-4. No, just 13-4. They just have to have the exact same record. The Cowboys have the tiebreaker.
Okay.
And so the Cowboys would be the number one seed. They just have to catch Green Bay.
Gotcha.
which very easily could have happened this season with a lot of the Green Bay wins that we had just already discussed.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think it's insane that this team is just that good. And Dak Prescott was given the ball to everybody. Zeke didn't even have, he had 37 yards on 9 carries. And 56 points were scored. Like, this team is one of the most effective and efficient offenses in football when it's in, and I can't wait to see it fully healthy because Zeke's still not healthy.
Right.
So
no, he's not. But they obviously got enough weapons to work around him. Hell, he definitely gave his best Antonio Gibson impression, last week, which, injured star player doing all he can for his team, whether the numbers support it or not, but the team rallies around him and they get the victory. So.
Yeah.
It
really helped out with that in fantasy anyway, with that touchdown and the receiving touchdown. So that definitely boosted the score a little bit.
Yeah, and salvaged his, definitely salvaged his week.
2 touchdowns on that. So, all right. Well, Monday night was wrapping things up.
Now y'all can see my face now.
I got this one right. I took Miami in this game. No, I
take nothing from it.
I'm not taking anything from it either.
It means nothing. Like, I could have easily, like I said, went the other way. I just went this way just because. Not even. God, go ahead. You have
no. This game specifically, I just felt bad for Ian Book. This kid got absolutely battered in this game. Like, they did not protect him whatsoever. Like, every single, the way you were looking at the Cowboys game, every single time you looked up, Dallas was scoring. Every single time I looked up, Ian Book was getting sacked. Ian Book was getting hit. Ian Book was getting dropped. Like, it just did not matter. This dude was always getting harassed the entire game. And it wasn't like they were doing extracurricular stuff to get to him. This was just in the flow of the game. He just kept getting hit for his rookie start. There was just no protection whatsoever offensively. And hey, Miami came out. Tua played a solid game. Jalen Waddle has become, he's trying to put himself into that conversation for rookie of the year with Jamar Chase and Mac Jones. So, 10 for 92 and a touchdown. Miami's just been playing a solid game. They have gone now 7 straight wins after 7 straight losses after getting their first, the first game of the season was a win. They went back-to-back 7 win or loss streak in these last 14 weeks and now have gotten themselves back into the playoff talk. They've actually, with this win, knocked Baltimore out of the playoff picture right now. So,
wow.
They currently hold the 7th seed going into Sunday's games in week 17 here, and they kind of control their own destiny on if they can get in or not.
Yeah, second hottest team in the league right now. Oh, good Lord. I remember that was kind of your one of your deciding factors last week, and you was kind of saying, man, they're riding this 6-game win streak and blah, blah, and they're kind of rolling. And I used them. It was for the very reason why I used them the week before. But then they meet then they go into New Orleans, and this is where it all gets mucked up for me. And it's like, okay, so I'm not surprised. I'm congratulations to Miami. And they did this without the head coach, which, bless you there. But they did this without the head coach who was out with COVID. Am I not correct?
I believe so. So many guys.
Flores, he was out with something. But yeah. As far as New Orleans, disappointing them again because again, when it always gets down to it, when people prognosticators, predictors want to give them their flowers, they do this. And this is a prime time Monday night game. The whole the entire country, the nation gets to see this, and you put this clunker out there, thanks, but no thanks. I'm okay. I don't think New Orleans really knew what their identity was this year. And, minus the Drew Brees losing, Jameis Winston, not necessarily committing to Taysom Hill. You got Alvin Kamara, but you let go of Latavius Murray. You bring back Mark Ingram, but then there's no Mike Thomas. Okay, can I just say this is just a mess over in New Orleans, basically, just to conclude this. But Miami has proven quietly to be that team. Because we got so focused on Buffalo and New England, I think we have just completely forgotten about Miami to the point where I didn't even realize they was on a win streak till they got to that fifth game. That's when it flagged for me. I was not paying attention to their wins whatsoever. They win a game and who cares? It's like you shrug your shoulders and keep it moving. You don't even factor it in.
7 at the time,
right?
Who cares?
And I mean, I'm saying that to say I never even followed their record. I just knew that they wasn't winning. It's like, who cares? And now look at them, second hottest team in the league. So congratulations. I should have known better just to take them. But it is what it is. I think I'm gonna have to. New Orleans gonna have to get on that New York Giants list. So it's gonna have to be done with them.
Gotcha.
They're done anyway. So
all right.